Our first video this week is to review our homework. Okay, if we look at our homework sheet here, we see number 1 says, I need to raise a box from the floor to the table. If the weight of the box is 27 newtons and it takes 9 newtons of force to move it, what is the mechanical advantage and how many pulleys were used? Here we can see that we have the weight of the box of 27. That would be the force out, R. And we have that it takes 9 newtons of force to move it. That is the force in. So the formula we want to use here is MA equals R divided by F. We have the R of 27, we have the F of 9, and we can see that the last part of our question here says, what is the mechanical advantage? So that is what we are solving for. Let's move our formula into our formula box. MA equals R divided by F. R, 27, divided by F of 9. 27 divided by 9 gives us a mechanical advantage of 3. And we know then that he was using 3 pulleys. Okay, question number 2. I have 2 pulleys and I need to move a box that weighs 500 newtons. How many newtons of pulling force will I need to move it? If we remember, the mechanical advantage equals the number of strings, which equals pulleys, then we know that we have a mechanical advantage of 2. And we have the weight of the box being 500 newtons. So for this problem, we have the R being 500, and we have the mechanical advantage being 2. We will need to use this formula. We also can see that the question for this number 2 reads, how many newtons of pulling force will I need to move it? That would be your force in. So we will use the formula force in equals force out over mechanical advantage. We know that the R, force out, is 500. Mechanical advantage is 2. 500 divided by 2 gives us a force in of 250 newtons. It would take 250 newtons of force to move this box. Number 3, I have 4 pulleys and I pulled a box using a pull scale and it read 240 newtons, the force I put in. What was the weight of the box? Now, for this problem, we have a mechanical advantage of 4 because we have 4 pulleys. We know what the force in was. We put 240 newtons of force in. So we will be using this middle formula of R equals mechanical advantage times force in, F. Okay, so we see the question at the end of number 3 says, what was the weight of the box? That leads us to know that we are solving for R, the weight of the box. R equals mechanical advantage times force in. Our mechanical advantage is 4 times the force we put in, 240. So the weight of the box needed to be 960 newtons. If you have any further questions about this homework sheet, please be sure to message me. Let's take a look now at our discussion questions. Discussion question 1 for the week read, after watching the attached video, what causes the character's effort to be less? What decreased and what increased? We can see from the video that adding more pulleys caused the character's effort to be less. While the effort decreased, the distance he pulled or the amount of rope increased. Okay, let's look at discussion question 2. This discussion question reads, after watching the attached video, answer the following. So the load weighed 200 pounds and there were 2 pulleys or strings. The man pulled with 80 pounds of force and wasn't able to lift the load. What force would he have needed to pull with to move the load? Let me read that again. So the load weighed 200 pounds and there were 2 pulleys or strings. The man pulled with 80 pounds of force and wasn't able to lift the load. What force would he have needed to pull with to move the load? Also, if there were 4 pulleys or strings, what force would he need to pull with to move the load? Look back at your formulas if you need to. So we can see we have the R of 200, okay? The load that he was wanting to move weighed 200 pounds. We also have the number of pulleys, which is equal to mechanical advantage, and that's 2. We will use force N equals force N equals R, the weight of the object, divided by mechanical advantage. So when we divide the weight of the object by the mechanical advantage, that gives us the amount of force he needed to put in. So R equaled 200, mechanical advantage equaled 2, so 200 divided by 2 gives us 100. The man would need 100 pounds of force in order to move the weight. For the second part of the question, it says, if there were 4 pulleys or strings, what force would he need to pull with to move it? So now we're changing this just a bit. We can see we still have the R of 200. Okay, we have the weight of the object of 200. If we change to 4 pulleys, mechanical advantage being 4, then we will still use the same formula. We're still trying to figure out what force the man needs to put in. So we will this time take 200 and divide it by 4, equaling 50. The man would need 50 pounds of force in order to move the load with 4 pulleys. If he was able to pull with 80 pulleys, or with 80 pounds, like in the video, he would have needed 4 pulleys to move it. Or with 4 pulleys, he would have been able to move it. If you have any questions about these discussion questions, be sure to message me.